Hi, today we're exploring the problem in the text for proper 13 year C. And we've got Luke 12 verses 13 to 21. Someone in the crowd said to Jesus, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the family inheritance with me." But he said to him, "Friend, who set me to be a judge or arbiter over you?" And he said to them, "Take care. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of possessions." Then he told them a parable. The land of a rich man produced abundantly, and he thought to himself, "What should I do? For I have no place to store my crops." Then he said, "I will do this. I will put down my barns and build larger ones, and there I will store all my grains and my goods. And I will say to my soul, 'Soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, be merry.' But God said to him, 'You fool, this very night your life is being demanded of you. And the things you have prepared, whose will they be?' So it is with those who store up treasures for themselves but are not rich toward God." Jesus tells a parable after a prompt, like the lawyer who asked, "Who is my neighbor?" knowing full well that wasn't what Jesus is trying to talk about. Like, the dude wants to be a rules lawyer and catch Jesus up in the rules. And instead, Jesus told a parable that caught him up. In that case, it was an even the enemies can be neighbors and the righteous can be dirtbags. So here, a guy comes up to Jesus and he's like, "My brother won't share my inheritance. Like, we've got the paperwork and everything, and he's being a jerk. There's got to be something you can do." And Jesus is like, "What are you coming to me for?" And he's like, "'Cause you're good at this." And Jesus is like, "See, here's a parable." And the parable is a short story about a guy who wants a bunch of stuff he doesn't need, but wants it just because he can. And he doesn't even have a place to put it. So he builds a warehouse to store his stuff. But guess what? The guy's gonna die alone and unhappy. The problem in the text is pretty straightforward. We like stuff. A lot. As in both amount of like and of stuff. We like a lot of stuff. A lot. But in this particular case, it isn't just love of stuff. It's a particular kind of stuff. The stuff that doesn't have anything to do with living in this world or being happy. It's the stuff we think we need because it's right. Remember the version of this when we hit middle school and suddenly you realize that brand name jeans, you need them or you'll die, like literally die of embarrassment. The adult version is like keeping up with the Joneses, but I've never had Joneses to keep up with. I mean, there may have been Smiths at one point. This, of course, is only one version of the problem. We see another version in the guy who comes to Jesus looking for help. Inheritance. By law, he is owed this stuff. And we all know that a brother holding this stuff up is a jerk move. Even the jerk knows he's being a jerk. After all, he's totally just doing this because he can. So we get really focused on fairness. It's only fair. It's what's owed me. And we think that is a supreme virtue. And Jesus says that isn't even the starting point of fairness. The starting point is, do you have enough already? This is one of the more uncomfortable gospels because we just don't like it. It feels like mom and dad are trying to get us to learn the difference between need and want, which is an objectively good lesson, but totally unfun to experience firsthand. So I totally get that. But the central issue, like in that teaching, is that we walk into the situation with the wrong headspace. We treat it like a need. The same goes with our sense of fairness when it comes to our accumulating stuff. We think we deserve it or have a right to have it. Like these things are relevant to whether or not having it is good for us. And we understand that in some situations, like I have a right to drink alcohol, but I also know that having cabinets stuffed with it isn't good for me. When we go to Jesus to settle what's fair or what's right, we should get used to the idea that he's far more likely to tell us what's good instead. May God's grace be with you, and we'll see you next time. And the parable